Hello, welcome back to the Stay at Home GM podcast. The answer to the question, well, what happened if three friends from elementary school were given microphones? I'm your host, Mitchell McCann. Alongside me is Lions diehard and co-host Steven Sauer. Steve?
That's me.
That is him as well. And with us here today, as usual, our fantasy expert and runner-up to his little brother in the fantasy championship, our dear friend Patrick. Patrick, how we doing?
Doing great.
Great. Well, it's been one heck of a season, but it's not over yet. The NFL playoffs are here. There's much more excitement heading our way. This is the end of our year's show, so we'll be going over some storylines we saw throughout the season, both in real life and in fantasy. We're also going to be checking in on our takes, see how well they held up. So, just a forewarning, not a lot of good stuff being coming forward. So, our takes were not very well.
Hey,
But
my Pacheco take was good.
Oh,
Only because of injury.
We'll float on that. But to start, I like to go over something that me and Steve have talked about is that the value of running backs has definitely increased now, seeing how well they did this year. So we got three running backs that changed teams this year with Saquon, Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs. We also have someone that came out of nowhere, Chuba Hubbard. Saquon was going for the record this year at 2,000 rushing yards. Derrick Henry right behind him with 1,921 yards. But just to go to show you that they do have value, and I want to hit this one over to Steven here because me and him talk a lot about this, whether we should pay these guys top dollar. And I know we and him have this kind of belief that you don't need to pay a big running back. But, Steve, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, if you look at it, other than the Panthers, I mean, the Eagles, Ravens, and Packers, there were teams who like had a pretty complete offense and could just use a little bit more to like really get them over the edge. And I think that's what really helped them. Because if Saquon was still on the Giants, if Henry was still on the Titans, just Jacobs on the Raiders, they definitely would not have had as good a seasons as they had. So changing teams for running backs, it's really not as hard of a changing schemes as opposed to like a quarterback or maybe even a wide receiver, but it's a lot easier for them to change teams, and they went to teams that had good offenses already, and they just, especially with Saquon, able to run behind a good offensive line.
Definitely here. I just think that the value is a little bit more than what we were looking at here. I, Raiders fan as I was not willing to pay Josh Jacobs, $15 million, what he wanted. He goes to the Packers on a 1-year deal. It looks like he's proved it. It took a little bit longer because for Jacobs specifically, they started really handing him the ball like halfway through the season. But Patty, how are your thoughts on these running backs? I know fantasy-wise, Saquon and Derrick Henry were godsends. I know not pictured here, but James Cook and Jahmyr Gibbs were tied with 16 rush touchdowns with Derrick Henry as well.
Yeah, I mean, like Steve was saying, it's all about the fit, the scheme. These guys leave, some dumpster fires and go to some contenders with some rushing quarterbacks with them, too. They're going to get a lot more bigger holes, better O-line. And then you mentioned all those names, but you forgot a big one this year. Achane. Great fit, great scheme. McDaniel just feeds him every week. PPR scammer. So yeah, just like him, if he was on like the Giants or like the Titans or something, Achane's probably not doing much, but he's got a good fit, good scheme. So yeah, with the running backs, I'm curious now next year what happens with Ashton Gianni. If he goes to a good fit or if he goes to a bad fit, what happens fantasy wise with him?
That's very true. Definitely with the way the league's been going with lots of passing going on, there's going to be lots of lighter boxes here, especially when you have, as you guys said, Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts with their rushing ability. You can't just stack the box with 8 defenders to stop these guys. And with the way passing has been evolved, I think we're going to see more years with bigger numbers from running backs. I believe it was at least 16 running backs were over 1,000 yards rushing this year. Uh, so I think the value has come back for them. We'll see I want to see what the value is going to be, how much money they're going to be getting now. Uh, I believe Jacobs it was either a 1 year or 2 year deal. So we'll see. I think he might be the first one up.
It was like
Chuba
a
already
one
got his
year with a bunch
extension.
of options.
Yeah, Chuba was the biggest one here, especially in Carolina. While they weren't very good, he was definitely something coming out of left field, fantasy wise, specifically. You could have got him super late, uh, but we'll talk more about that.
And they extended
Moving
him,
on,
right?
they did. They send him. Moving on, we got some rookie quarterbacks this year that really showed out. We got Caleb, Jaden Daniels, and Bo Nix. Now, these quarterbacks coming into different situations here, Caleb. Lot of talk how great his situation was with his receiver group, his defense. The O line was not very good. Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix both came to teams with not a lot of expectations this year, and they're both in the playoffs here. Bo Nix surprisingly led them with passing touchdowns. The record wise, Jaden had the best. He's probably going to be offensive rookie of the year. So, Patty, what are your thoughts on these rookies? How well did you see? I know you were very high on Caleb coming out. So,
Yeah, I mean, pretty star-studded group here, but another name not on the list here, Drake May, also showing out here on the Patriots. He probably had the worst weapons out of those other three, but really the Caleb Rome Adunze connection. I thought it'd be a little bit better this year. He was kind of feeded Keenan Allen a little more, DJ Moore more. But Jaden next year, what's he going to be? QB1 probably, QB2 behind Allen when we start drafting, especially if the Commanders get him some weapons outside. I mean, it'll be interesting.
that's true. Caleb, didn't say we're supposed to connect up. They had their spots here and there, but with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen specifically, you got to get those veteran guys their touches. And we'll see how long before Rome really ascends here, especially Jaden Daniels. I like Jaden Daniels a lot coming out. I had him higher than Caleb, and really goes to show with that dual threat of him. Even though he doesn't have the body type that you want to see in the quarterback, he's a little too skinny, not a big enough frame. Uh, he did very well. Steve, what's your thoughts here?
Well, I can't help but notice Caleb Williams didn't get to the 4,000 yards everyone was hoping he'd get during the preseason. But I don't know. I think the real thing holding him back was, like you said, the offensive line, not great. Definitely could use improvements, and that coaching staff. I mean, if Ben Johnson goes there, oh, sky's the limit there. They got plenty of offensive weapons. I could see him improve in year two. And yeah, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, they're gonna be pretty high picks next year. But I kind of I wanna bring up Penix. He he's only played a couple games so far. I think he could be a sleeper next year. He's got a lot of offensive weapons. If they're able to run the ball well with Bijan, and then set up a good play action game with London and I mean, maybe Pitts finally. Everyone's gonna be tired of Pitts. He's gonna be down in the draft boards. Everyone's tired of hoping on him, but there's definitely weapons there, and I think Penix could be a sleeper next year.
For sure. It was, unfortunate. Kirk Cousins coming off that Achilles injury. We thought he'd come back to somewhat of his regular form. He has completely regressed, which allowed Michael Penix to come in. Falcons, I believe, waited a little bit too long to put him in the starting lineup. Might have cost him a playoff spot there. But he does have a bright future, has a lot of weapons. The defense was looking really good at the end of the season, too. So we'll see how he matures as well. Drake May, another guy, not much greatest weapons. Also got put in a little later than what New England should have done. But He's got the talent. They got a lot of cap space, but they just did fire their head coach. So just another year, another new head coach. So we'll see how that goes. But don't think I didn't remember about the other rookies we got here. We got a couple of stud rookie wide receivers and a stud rookie tight end for my Raiders here. Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, both were going for that rookie reception record back and forth these last couple of weeks. And I know Pat is foaming at the mouth to talk about how much Brian Thomas Jr. It was his darling here. Pat, what are your thoughts here?
I mean, he just looks different out there. Biggest guy, well, tallest guy. He'll be the biggest guy in a couple of years. But he's the fastest guy. He's got the nicest hands. He made Mac Jones look pretty competent out there. So yeah, if I'm Mac Jones, I'm sending him some gifts over the summer here. Thanks, buddy. Giving me another contract here. But no, he's probably gonna be what, second round pick next year, probably, especially if they get a new head coach too. That maybe schemes them up pretty well. But no, Brock, Napa boy, can't believe how good he did, especially with the quarterback situation there. So I wonder what they do next year to help him out. Who's going to be the coach? Who's going to be the quarterback? Same thing with Malik. So it's kind of like, Brian, he's got Trevor Lawrence at least for a while, a few more years. But Brock and Malik, they probably got new quarterbacks coming in next year. So I wonder how they adjust. Probably, hopefully, more touchdowns for both of them. Um, but no, what a group.
Definitely, what a group. Pair of LSU teammates, Neighbors and Brian Thomas. They were both being talked about. Who was the better one coming out? Thomas had the touchdowns. They all look quarterback. They don't need a quarterback to do it. Brock Bowers, Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, Desmond Ritter. Doesn't matter. He breaks the rookie reception record. Steve, what are your thoughts on these guys and how well they did?
Yeah, no, they did great. And I mean, Malik Neighbors did pretty much what everyone thought he would. He was just a target monster, second in the league in targets, only behind Jamar Chase. And if really, no matter who the quarterback is, if this offense doesn't really change, if they don't get any other weapons, they're going to have to rely on him again next year. And I mean, it just really goes to show you, these LSU receivers, you want those guys on your team. And well, once again, 2 years in a row where a rookie tight end just comes in and then leads the league in fantasy points. It's this next year I'll be looking hard at these incoming tight ends, and I'll be looking hard. I'll tell you what, these young tight ends coming in, want a piece of that.
Definitely Laporta last year, Brock Bowers this year. They're definitely going to be a value. Hopefully, Brock Bowers doesn't have the dip Laporta did this year, but we shall see. But now heading off here, we do got the playoffs coming up here, and we got the seeds here. Kansas City, Detroit, both earned the bye. We got a couple teams here, some interesting matchups here. One I want to talk about is that Tampa Bay Washington matchup here. We got Jaden Daniels, offensive rookie of the year, and Baker Mayfield. One heck of a year from him after getting that contract extension, finally having some stability. Even though he lost his offensive coordinator Dave Canales to Carolina, Liam Cohen comes in and he still just doesn't miss a beat. So that game probably going to be a big high scoring game. Their defenses aren't the best, so that game looks pretty intriguing. Any matchups you guys see there that you're looking forward to? Steve?
Well, I mean,
I'll go ahead
yeah,
here. Uh,
All right.
I mean, if I had to pick one, it's like I could only watch one game the whole weekend. I probably have to do Bills Broncos. I think Sean Payton's coming out with a master scheme here. Bo's been a good boy the whole week, studying up. Watching all the film, knowing all the personnel. So I think that one maybe. And then that Broncos defense, maybe they come out with a little something extra. It's gonna be in Buffalo, so I haven't checked the weather, but hopefully it's a snow game. That's always more fun to watch. And then of course Josh Allen, he wants that MVP, but everyone's saying no, they're gonna give it to Lamar again. So that's kind of a statement game for him too. What if he puts up like a 4 or 5 tutty performance and they hand Lamar Jackson the MVP though? They'd be looking kind of silly.
Yeah, I'm curious to see this Rams Vikings matchup. I mean, Rams beat them during the regular season. Vikings coming off a loss to the Lions. They're going to want to put a statement out there. I think it's going to be interesting. Matt Stafford versus Sam Darnold. Can Sam Darnold kind of right the ship after what happened last week? I mean, Lions kind of showed even without a really good defensive line. If you get some pressure on Darnold, he kind of flounders a little bit, even with all these weapons. So, and the Rams, they've got a good young front seven. I have a feeling they're gonna be able to get to Sam Darnold pretty easily. Hopefully, he can handle the pressure a little bit better than last week.
Yeah, very intriguing matchup there. Definitely the loser. If Eagles hold their position and win that game against Green Bay, who's just coming into this playoffs limping, they just seem to have all the things going wrong for them. Jordan Love gets hurt in week 18. They just came in a little. It's unfortunate, but I think Eagles are going to win that game. And that winner of the Rams Vikings will play Detroit. So will we get
Unless the
Minnesota?
Commanders win.
That too. Um, but we'll see. The Commanders, that would be one heck of a matchup. That would be even more like show. But now we're going to head over to the fantasy side, and we're going to do our biggest achievers of the year. Starting with, as for mentioned, Baker Mayfield. He was going quarterback 21, ends up with quarterback 4. The projections total for 245 points just completely shatters it. This is PPR format, so everything right here. So couple Chuba Hubbard, as said, Brian Thomas, and that tight end Jonnu Smith of Miami, tight end 24 to start, comes tight end 4, just obliterates it. Might as well, just get rid of tight ends completely and just make a flex spot for them. It's like, what's the point? You draft Laporta round 3 and you get screwed over, and then some guy picks up Jonnu Smith off the free agency wire. I mean, you might as well just, get rid of it. But, Steve, any thoughts on how well these guys overachieved this year?
Definitely don't agree with that tight end take. That's just it just makes it more exciting. But I don't know, that's it's pretty interesting. I mean, a lot of people were down on Baker because of the change in offensive coordinator. This year really proved that he can do it with whoever, as long as he's got Mike Evans there. Um, yeah, Brian Thomas, of course. Patrick, he loves him. And Chuba's, he's doing well, but I don't know, it's not an exciting name. I think someone else from the Buccaneers we could bring up is Bucky Irving. He really came on the second half of the year, and even with it being like a split timeshare with Rashad White that back half, he was doing great, and I think if anything, they're just gonna give him a bigger role next year. So I'm looking forward to him. I wonder where he's gonna go in drafts next year.
I mean, Patty, you want to take a victory lap here with Brian Thomas Jr.?
I mean, yeah, he was really good, but I didn't win a title with him or anything, so it didn't really pay off that much. But no, he was a great little steal late half there. So I wonder next year now, only going to be a few first round rookie wide receivers, so they're probably going to be inflated draft price now. So I don't know if they're even worth touching because he kind of got burned if you took Marvin Harrison Jr. this year too. Maybe you kind of took the wrong rookie. So for everyone that hits, you kind of got to be careful. But with it being that late, wide receiver 49, I mean that's just like a flyer 10th round. If he doesn't hit, you just drop him. So there's always one like that every year. It seems like so. Maybe next year we'll see who it is.
True, yeah. Dynasty with these rookies, hit or miss. First year they could not have hit Marvin Harrison Jr., as you were saying. could still's got the potential to be a really good one. You know, we still had good neighbors and Brock Bowers as well, also overperformed. But well, other people have overperformed. There were also plenty of underperformers. CJ Stroud, you were taking him early, QB5, you know, around that Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and he just underperformed. QB 18 the end, well below. Travis Etienne Jr., RB 10. And he's just bottoms out. The biggest one here, Dalton Kincaid, tight end 5, just goes drawn to tight end 30. It's almost like there's no reason to have that position, but I digress. Debo Samuel, could you chalk it up to a lot of injuries? Brandon Ayuk came out though. He had the opportunities. Brandon Ayuk got hurt. Ricky Pearsall wasn't there early. He had the opportunities and he well underperformed. So, Pat, any thoughts on these disappointments this year?
I mean, luckily didn't have too many of these guys this year, but kind of saw the red flags with ETN, Debo. Didn't think they'd do that bad though this year. And then Kincaid, I kind of wanted him, but he was going to pick pretty early. People were pretty hyped, thought he'd be the number one target, but he kind of got banged up middle of the year, falls out of the scheme a little bit, and next thing you know, you can't really trust him come playoffs, and you're picking up a waiver tight end. So, and then CJ, yeah, that was just people got way too hyped up. Rookie of the year last year, and then it's like end of the season almost looked like Bryce Young was the better fantasy quarterback almost, just with that rushing upside. So wonder where CJ's getting picked next year fantasy wise in redraft. He's probably maybe like a QB 8, QB 9 type guy. Can't really take him in the top 5 anymore with all the talent we have now.
Yeah. CJ kind of got hurt with injuries, Nico going down, Tank Dell getting injured multiple times. And then yeah, one of the other running backs changing teams, Joe Mixon, he was just dominating. They didn't need to pass the ball as much. So they were able to rely on the running game a little bit more than they did last year. That took away from his production, injuries to the wide receivers. Um, and yeah, it's the Tank Dell thing. That's just rough because he's not going to be back for a while. Who knows when he's going to come back next year? Yeah, I think they're going to need to bring someone else in that wide receiver room to like really feel like CJ could be a good fantasy quarterback. But yeah, the rest of these guys just high expectations, just didn't able to perform. I know Debo, I don't know what was going on. He was injured, but even when he came back, it's like Ayuk was already injured, McCaffrey's out too, so you expect him to put up more, be more productive in that offense. But I don't know what was going on with him. Maybe the money just weighing down his pockets, not able to run as quick as he should be. I mean, it looks like George Kittle's really the only reliable one in that offense right now.
True. And we could have gone an easy route. Christian McCaffrey, got hurt. He could have been easily, the biggest bust. But, with that injury, I didn't want to, it's just give it out there. The only thing we learned from that is you can't really trust Kyle Shanahan when it comes to injury news. You also had Kenneth Walker as well. That was a little higher. He got hurt. There's just, injuries do take a toll. But there's just some disappointments. You always are taking a risk here when you take these guys. The
Hmm.
situation could be perfect. It's like, oh man, all these targets. Stephon Diggs leaves. They draft a rookie, Keon Coleman. You're like, no way, they're just not going to give Kincaid all these targets, right? And then he just fell off face of the earth, unfortunately. But that was Josh Allen. Looks like he's going to be the MVP. So I don't think Kincaid cares whether or not he's fantasy relevant.
Yeah, one
Now,
other disappointment, obviously. I mean, you already said it, Marvin Harrison Jr. Oh boy, man. I took him at the top of the second round. That was probably biggest mistake of the draft for me. I mean, I'm expecting him to put up like Puka rookie numbers, I don't know. I was expecting him to just slot in and play like DeAndre Hopkins. I expected him and Kyler to have some kind of chemistry, but it really took him way too long to get on the same page. And I don't know, the Cardinals coaching staff, I really don't know what they're doing. I think the only person you can really rely on a weekly basis on that offense is going to be James Conner.
McBride, Trey
Oh,
McBride.
and McBride, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Marvin Harrison, wide receiver 7 ADP, finishes wide receiver 30. Just a lot of media hype. He's the number one receiver. We saw what D Hop did there, a couple of years ago. So kind of hoping they were replicating it. Now we're moving on. This is where we are reviewing our fantasy takes here. So we're going to start off with Patrick's takes. Now I got them listed out, with X's and check marks, see what he did. So we're going to move on here. We got, Patrick got it right with Lad McConkey, wide receiver 3 potential, did even better than that. But you see here, don't fade Calvin Ridley. Amazing value pick. Didn't really pan out that way. James Cook, terrible take. We got Rashad White was a choose one. That Zach Moss is a home run. Do not choose Chase Brown. I mean, Pat,
Rain check.
that was rain check on that one. Kyle Murray, value quarterback where he was, good one. And then we did a segment, stutter fart. Caleb Williams, Christian McKirk, Raheem Mostert, and Josh Palmer are all studs. That was not. And then Montgomery, Achan, and Quinn Johnson will be farts. I know Patrick doesn't remember saying Achan was going to be a fart, but he was really high on Mostert being that lead running back here. But, Pat, not the greatest year, but, any words on, just what happened?
Oh, well, the Achan, that was reverse psychology. I was taking him in every league in redraft. Just wanted, because in our league, he went like
Trying to
third or
push
fourth
down the
round, and I was
value.
shocked. So it worked. But Caleb, Kirk, Mostert, Palmer, those are all like 8th, 9th, 10th round. That doesn't hurt too much. Just throwing, barrels on an apple.
I mean,
Or apples on a barrel.
Montgomery, I know I didn't put it on there, but you said Pacheco was going to have more rushing yards than rushing touchdowns than Montgomery here, and
Well, he
they
came out hot like that, but then he got hurt. Kareem Hunt comes back, starts kicking it around again. So,
now we did do
Zach
we did
Moss, he was coming out hot. He had 18 or 20 points one week, but then he had a neck injury. So that's the IR end of the season. So that's a rain check. But they might even draft a running back now. So that might be it for Zach Moss in Cincinnati. We'll see.
a lot of injuries happening up here. Patrick did say that Mostert was also going to have a lot of touchdowns. Mostert finished with 2, Pacheco with 1, Montgomery had 10. So,
yeah. Well, Mostert
no.
had 21 something last year, and then the O line was just not able to run the ball this year. And then Tua, misses like 4 weeks, middle of the season. Yeah, offenses started just feeding Achan, so I'll take that.
I mean, reverse psychology there, but moving on to Steven here. Starts off Xavier Legette, Carolina, wide receiver 1. He's better than Adam Thielen. Did not pan out that way. He wanted us to buy Amari Cooper as well. It didn't matter who the quarterback in Cleveland was going to be. He was going to be also a high value here. Gus Edwards, value sleeper pick. Turns out, J.K. Dobbins didn't, for a long time, didn't get hurt. Got hurt late, and then, wrong guy. Stafford, value quarterback late, just like me. We both agreed on that one. The fades here, Keenan Allen and Isaiah Pacheco, especially with the Pacheco less than 10 rush touchdowns. Big hits right there. Montgomery, Mostert, and Kirk will be studs. Hit on Montgomery, Mostert, Kirk, studs. He also did hit on Caleb Williams, neither a stud nor a fart. He was kind of in the middle, a little bit higher than his ADP, but not, like a couple things there. But Steve, not a terrible year, but, the value, sleeper pick, and buying Amari Cooper, not the best choices here.
I don't know. The best thing about Amari Cooper was that I was able to ship him off when he got traded, and I think that was the best move. I think when that happened, if you were an Amari Cooper manager, that was the best thing to do. Just sell high. You're like, oh, he's going to the best quarterback in the league. Of course, he's gonna be great now. Well, unfortunately, injuries and yeah, I mean they don't use him as much as you'd probably want. Gus Edwards just picked the wrong guy. Uh, it's didn't expect J.K. to come back as good as he did, and I mean I faded Keenan Allen, but he had some good games at the end there. Not really consistent, but and yeah, I mean with the Lions backfield, David Montgomery, he's you can rely on him to get a lot of touchdowns as long as he's not getting injured. Yeah, Raheem Mostert, Christian Kirk, just don't want to be
Yeah, we
taking those guys. Saw some flashes from Leggett, but apparently not better than Thielen. And who even knows? I mean, the way Thielen looks now, he might be a good value pick next year too.
yeah, we'll see. Carolina, really started turning it up at back half of the season. Thielen really coming out wide receiver one, just the veteran presence really calmed down. Bryce Young got him more confident. Dave Canales coming over there, but not everybody's a winner. And now we're moving on to my takes. Keon Coleman, Bills wide receiver one, so many targets, just unfortunate. Jaleel McLaughlin, value sleeper RB. Really thought Javonte Williams was getting a cut from the news here. Matthew Stafford, value quarterback late, same as Steve. Tight end doesn't need to be a position in fantasy. I think I'm
Mm,
correct, but I know you guys disagree. Fade Calvin Ridley, pretty simple. I think everybody knew what that was. Apparently, some people on this board didn't think that. Uh, also, Caleb Williams, Christian Kirk will be studs. I got Live McConkey at the end there, but we all fell for Kirk with that Jaguars offense. We didn't think Brian Thomas would come on till later in the season. We thought Kirk still would be there. He also did get hurt as well, but he was kind of off the system anyway. Montgomery, missed. I thought they're going to really hand over Gibbs the reins here. But, Mostert, Palmer, pretty easy farts. I didn't think some people were, really high on him, but, apparently I know one, so, but, not, we're not really doing so hot, boys, on those takes here.
mm-mm.
But not the end of the world. We'll still have more takes next year, and we'll be either hopefully we're all shooting for at least above 50%. But moving on here, we got mine and Steven's division predictions. So we did predictions on who's going to finish where in the division. Um, didn't bring the records in, just where they finished. So we're going to be starting with mine. Uh, not very good at all outside of that AFC South where I completely nailed it. Completely whiffed on the NFC North, and there me go making noise. Um, Baltimore, New England, definitely not proud of it. 11-21 overall. Uh, you know, really hard to pick divisions. Unfortunately, it looks like it. Um, but moving on to Steve here. Did I do better than Steven? Yes, I did by 2 picks. He got Miami and New England correct. I think that the 2 picks he missed on that one was the New Orleans and Carolina. They flopped. They switched. So he had New Orleans above Carolina here, but just seems like the divisions are really hard to choose here. We were really high on Cincinnati, just like everybody else. Did not do very well, but Steve, seeing your division picks, what were any thoughts?
Well, I mean, the NFC West, like who even knows? Like San Francisco just completely whiffed this year. That was, and then the rest of that division is like nobody knew who was gonna be winning it the whole time. And I mean, I got a lot of the division winners right, but yeah, I was underplaying Buffalo. Thought they'd be taking a step back with the defense, but they defense is playing great this year. Uh, yeah, definitely gonna need to do some more research next year. Figure something out.
I mean, for sure. We also got fooled by those New York Jets. Just they looked like I know Steve talked about it a little bit in the podcast episode that he didn't think he was going to have the Jets super high up. He had them winning the division, and he should just listen to his
It is,
gut like everybody else. Aaron Rodgers, is he coming back next year? We'll see here, but outside of that, 9-23. Well, just the placements, the records. We were relatively close with the winners. Houston, I was way off. I thought they were gonna be like 15-2. That was terrible. But other than that, we Steve was right. He got the winners mostly correct. But now we're moving over. Playoffs did start, and we also did make some playoff, seed predictions of where they were going to be at as well. So I got 3. Steve got 1. Steve was low ball in Kansas City for some reason. He put them 4th. Really high in Baltimore and the Jets. Unfortunately, NFC we both were just way off. Only Philadelphia was the one we got here. But San Francisco, what a terrible year. Chris McCaffrey doesn't come back till week 8. Brandon Ayuk gets paid, gets hurt. Just terrible. But other than that, Steve, playoffs is hard to pick too.
mm-hmm, I
Uh,
mean, we both had the Rams coming back. Uh, yeah, I had Dallas in there. They were not doing anything, and yeah, just I completely left the Bills out of it. That was one of my biggest regrets from that one, that's for sure. And then yeah, the Vikings. I mean, very few people outside of Minnesota expected them to really put together the kind of season they had this year. So, and it feels interesting. You never really know what's going to happen.
Very true. Now, we did also make conference championship and Super Bowl winners as well. Patty even joined us this time. I know it's been just me and Steve doing ours, but Patty did join us this year. So far, I have one of my picks still alive. The Eagles, Bengals did not make it. Steve's got Texans, Lions, with the Texans winning it overall. And Patty, Super Bowl one rematch with the Packers, Chiefs here. Um, so far, picks aren't looking very hot here. Especially, mine's not possible. Bengals not winning the Super Bowl unless they come up with a new rule. Steve, the Texans, look like they're coming limping in just like the Packers. Uh, you know, Patty, still alive here. Packers, Chiefs winning it all. How are you feeling here?
Feeling pretty good. Chiefs are looking solid. No, they've been getting lucky regular season, but they've been saving their best for the postseason. And then the Packers, it's just if they can beat the Eagles, then they go on the road to Kansas City. So I can't really get this. Wait, no, never mind. I have it backwards there, but no, Packers win. Then they got to go on the road. NFC. Who's the 1 seed? Lions.
Hmm.
So I don't know. That's a division game. They can maybe compete with that one. And next thing you know, maybe it is Kansas City, Green Bay in the Super Bowl. So I'm not hating on it. Out of the 3, I think I like it the most.
I mean, Steve, any thoughts here? You took the Lions all the way to the dance, and you didn't even want to, put a ring on it here. You feel a little different now to the number 1 seed. Maybe you should have had a little faith in your team.
Yeah, no, definitely didn't want to be too much of a homer with that pick, but I mean, now I was high enough to have them in the Super Bowl, and there are no more nods to make it there right now. Texans, yeah, I was just too high on them, like a lot of other people. Think if I'd change it now, I mean, do Bills and then Lions. Then I think I'd have the Lions taking it then. Hey, If it's that matchup, then they're gonna wanna redo that regular season game when it was really close, and I think if Amon Ra just hadn't fumbled in that game, they really could have won it. Be a really interesting one. Probably another shootout. So that'd be a great Super Bowl. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, we're still everybody's still alive, so we'll see how that ends up. But we're at the end of here of the podcast. We got just one more segment. Looking past these NFL playoffs to the off season here. Uh, one big question. What is I hope everyone's got one. My big question, Raiders fan I am, fired Antonio Pierce and the GM now. So, what are the Raiders going to look like? Got cap space in the, at least I think we're top 3, I believe, in that area. But we got to get a new head coach. Now we're paying our 4th head coach. We're paying 4 head coaches to not coach the Raiders. Got Gruden, McDaniels, Pierce. I believe there's somebody else in there that I'm not remembering, but there's just a lot of too much turnover. Patty, any big burning off season question you see coming up that, what's going to go on?
I think I
Oh,
already
yeah.
know it.
Yeah, well, I got a few. Well, first of all, one of my biggest nails of a take, Antonio Pierce. He was horrible. They fired him. Raiders were bottom 5 almost. So, I'm happy with that take. But got to wonder where these rookie running backs go. Ashton Gianni, Omari Hampton, or Marion Hampton, uh, Cam Scatabo, and then also Caleb Johnson. So that's like 4 names there. Gianni's going to be first round. Maybe get one of those other guys late first. But that's what I'm looking for. Who's taking these rookie running backs and how early?
Steve, what are you thinking?
Well, like I said, during the biggest achievers when we were looking at Brock Bowers, I'm gonna be looking at these rookie tight ends. I believe the Chargers have a good chance to take one of them. That'd be a great rookie guy to have on your fantasy team, hooking up with Justin Herbert. Uh, we'll see. Like I said, it looks like the trend now. Whereas in the past, rookie tight ends that first year was always a growing year. Took them a while to really get going. Now it seems like they're really hitting the ground running. So I I want to see where they go. The Chargers take one. That's probably going to take a long look at that guy and try to get him on my fantasy team.
Yep, those are just some preliminary questions. I'm sure how the playoffs fall, see who's the winner of it all. We'll have some more questions here. But that has been our podcast. Another great one here. We'll be coming back hopefully relatively soon with the off-season one. Just a little see how the playoffs fell, and see if we can one of our picks was correct here. Steve, Patty, any last words?
No. Well done. Fun having me on here. Appreciate all the work you did. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully these playoffs are fun to watch.
Alrighty then. Now you can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and now YouTube. I'm Mitch McCann signing off.